tighten up. Let's get tightened up. Tightened up. Tightened up. Tightened up.
It's a brand new dance and we about to go live. Tighten up, Nashville, rep the 615. First you tighten 2 steps, step to the right. Then you tighten 2 steps, step to the left. Blue jerseys everywhere, game face, yeah we got it on. Sticking out our chest, beating on it like it's King Kong. Countdown, it's about to get rough. Here come the train, y'all. Tennessee, tighten up.
What's up, everybody? 65 South Sports. It's your boy Jason with my guys Chandler, Demo, and Welly. How are y'all doing?
We good, man. We good.
Good. Shout out my boy Chandler, editing all the videos for us. You know, I gotta give him a shout out, his props. Hit us up on YouTube, 65 South Sports. YouTube.com/65 South Sports. My bad. Sub to the channel, get the updates, stuff like that. Follow us on Twitter. Chandler's going to drop our usernames on there for us as well. I guess we're going to talk a little Titans today, like we normally do, and then we're going to kind of mix it up and talk a little bit about the Natty game, which was a absolute beatdown by the Baylor Bears. That was a snooze fest. But we're going to talk about it. March Madness came to an end, sadly, but it was a lot of fun. So first up, I think the main thing that kind of happened over the week was Jim Schwartz being signed on for the Titans as a senior defensive assistant. I don't know how I feel about this, so I'm going to let y'all kind of lead the way on this one a little bit. I have a couple things I wanted to mention before we kick it off, but real quick, the one thing that kind of caught my eye was, first of all, he was obviously a defensive coordinator at Philly, which I think y'all are going to comment on for sure. And then also one thing that I wanted to mention was he was the defensive coordinator for 1 year in Buffalo back in 2014. And that year they had the most sacks in the league. So for the Titans, I think that's something big. Obviously, that's a long time ago, but it at least shows that he can get production from that side of the ball as well. But I think the big thing that I'm going to let y'all kind of talk about is his time in Philly. Because now, as we're all aware, Indianapolis has Carson Wentz at quarterback. He was there during Carson Wentz's tenure in Philly. So I'm going to let you guys kind of discuss this for a minute. I think it's a pretty interesting topic considering the trend of the AFC South right now. Chandler, you want to go ahead and kick it off? What are you thinking about this right quick?
Well, the one big, I guess, thing about Schwartz is trying to figure out what his role is going to be. Like, so, you know, they say senior defensive assistant. So exactly what is he going to do defensive? It's more likely going to be stuff behind the scenes that you're not really going to hear about unless the new D coordinator actually speaks on him and says, yeah, well, you know, Jim's been helping me out a lot. He's doing this, and that with plays and making sure people are in the right position. You know, it's more than likely not going to be anything like we really hear too much about. It's just because, you know, that's not really that role that kind of does that too often, but it'll be curious, though, to see kind of what happens with everything. I know with Philly, they started off real good. You know, he won that Super Bowl with Philly versus Tom Brady and them. And then it just kind of tailored off a little bit as they got along. I don't know if he was fired there or if it was just his contract ran out and they didn't want to renew it. But I don't know. I mean, Schwartz being back in Tennessee is definitely one. Actually, it's kind of a surprise anyway, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see what they do. But I know, you know, Philly had a lot of issues with defensive backs the last couple of years. They had a lot of guys injured. They ended up losing Malcolm Jenkins before the previous season. And cornerbacks, shoot, I couldn't even tell you. They didn't have a cornerback that was probably going to make most people starting roster the past year or two. So, I don't know. They probably made this Titans roster, though. I mean, especially last year, they needed all the corners they could get.
Yeah, like I'm going back and I'm looking through their defensive rankings, like I guess like total defensive rankings. And pretty much during his tenure there, aside from the year they won the Super Bowl, which was when they were top 5 in the league in points given up and yards, they kind of like stuck around the 10 to 15 range for those years, like after the Super Bowl. So, I mean, it's not necessarily bad, but like when you have as much talent as they did, I feel like it could be a little bit better than that personally. But
you know, it was middle of the pack. You know, I think they had a lot of injuries though. I think that kind of what really set them back. I had injuries, of course, with Wentz, and then everywhere else just kind of kept piling on everywhere else with it.
Yeah, and like you said, their defensive backs, they weren't really like, I mean, they had talent, but even the guys that they did have that were really good were kind of over the hill. So, but yeah. Anyways, so Dima, I'm gonna kick it over to you on this one. The defensive assistant thing is what's interesting to me because I noticed that too. But also, what's kind of funny to me is based on what I read from the article from the Titans today that they posted, Shane Bowen is still expected to call plays and coach linebackers, which I think is kind of, I guess it's fine or whatnot. But do you think moving forward that Schwartz is kind of sitting there thinking he's going to take over for Bowen as play caller, or you think he's just trying to stay back and do the assistant kind of thing?
That is a great question. I was actually thinking about that this morning when I was just hanging around, just doing some research for the show. I was thinking that yesterday when they had the press conference, a lot of people were attacking Vrabel. Well, not attacking him, but questioning him about Shane Bowen. A lot of people were questioning about the decision, like, okay, you say it wasn't the players, or you say it wasn't the coaching, it was the players. So now for me, whenever I see this move being made, it's kind of making me think like, okay, so if the defense gets bad again, then, I feel like his next option would be to call Jim Schwartz and be like, okay, what Bowen has is not working. And what Bowen has isn't working, but what Jim Schwartz has maybe works because, like how you said, that Super Bowl run, they were top 5. But I feel like for the Titans, their defense just needs to be the middle of the pack, just to at least get back to an AFC championship, in my opinion, because I think the offense is good enough. Will Henry run for 2,000 yards again? Well, with 17 games, I mean, it could be possible, but that's a tall order. But can your offense be prolific to get to an AFC championship game? Yeah, but I think also that has to rely on the defense. And I think if this defense fails this year, then I think, the coordinator, all the defensive coordinators are gone, in my opinion, or I think that they'll be axed, or Ford more to say, because last year you said, okay, it wasn't the coaching. So if you got all the new players, you got Bud Dupree, you got Denico Autry, you re-signed Jayon Brown, you got Janoris Jenkins, we're expecting you to have at least a top, either in the first or second round cornerback, so we're expecting the defense to improve. But if the defense still is bad as it was last year, then I think it has to be a coaching change. So in my opinion, I think this move was made from the backlash of the press conference, from him getting a lot of questions about Bowen, because everybody knows the defense was historically bad. But I think it's also a use to scapegoat Bowen as well, because Bowen was his guy in Houston. So
yeah, I didn't even think about that, honestly, how Bowen was with him in Houston too, now that you brought that up. But I mean, that's my thing, is I kind of feel like he was just like, all right, well, I got to find a damage control kind of thing here to kind of, make the situation a little bit better. And that's why he brought in Schwartz. And honestly, like, from a Titans fans perspective, I'm sure they're looking at it like he's a familiar face and he was there when they had a really good defense. So they probably feel more comfortable with him than they do Shane Bowen. But I guess my thing is, it's just interesting how, like, Shane Bowen is still going to be calling plays, but Jim Schwartz has historically been a good defensive coordinator, and we haven't really seen anything too great from Shane Bowen yet. But
except in Detroit.
I mean, I feel like everything bad goes on in Detroit. Like, there's only so much you can do with them, man. It's one of those franchises where you just kind of throw your hands up and just be like, look, man, it's Detroit.
It's a poverty franchise, man. They ain't been right since Barry
look,
left.
Look. I didn't say that was Chandler. Chandler brought out the poverty franchise. But, I mean, if you got to say
I can say that. They in my division, so I can say that. No issue. I don't care. I take all the smoke, Detroit. Y'all suck.
Oh man!
Hey,
All right.
I think Chandler makes a great point though, because if you look at the people who he's coached, they've all been like great defensive linemen. You got when he was with the Titans, they had Albert Hainsworth, back when he was in his heyday. Then he goes to Detroit. They had
Kyle
Ndamukong
Vanderbosch.
Cal Vandenbosch. They had Ndamukong Suh in Detroit, and then they had Fletcher Cox in Philly. And so he historically has been good with the defensive line, or at least producing great defensive line. So you give him Danico Autry, and you give him Jeffrey Simmons. You could be talking about something that could potentially blossom into a nice looking deep pass rush.
And one quick thing, who was Jeffrey Simmons' comp coming out of college?
Was it Fletcher Cox? I don't know.
Sue. It was Sue.
Oh,
Sue.
I can see it.
I saw that. I saw that in a couple of different places, but I saw him getting compared to like a lot of different guys too. So that makes sense. And going back to what I said earlier, like back in 2014, they led the league in sacks when he was with Buffalo. So, and Buffalo's always like, I feel like now they're starting to get a lot more. Yeah. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, even back then they had a good defense, but it's just now kind of being put on display since they've had so much playoff success. But I was going to kick it over to Welly real quick because I know he kind of had a comment on it before the show about Jim Schwartz and what he thought about Mike Vrabel. So I'm gonna let him kind of take it over for a second before we head into our next topic. Welly, what are you thinking about Jim Schwartz?
Man, it's been crazy. Like, as y'all talked, I just did nothing but kind of like took notes because y'all's perspective really helped me build a definitely kind of excuse me, dual-sided argument, also based on what I read, and also on my own little insight here and there. First, I'll give you my first reaction. First reaction, I was like, man, like Chan said, it was pretty surprising. Came out of left field. Didn't really see that coming. But I was still happy because he's somebody who's been vetted with the Titans for a long period of time, has a Super Bowl ring now in his arsenal. Like, you can't really take that away from him. So you actually have great experience. And like, Jason said earlier, when he was the defensive coordinator with the Bills, he had the most sacks or, things like that. So different things that y'all said, when working the D-line, I think that really can help us out because, dude, we were the worst defense in the history, bro, of, like, in the NFL. Like, this is ridiculously bad. So anybody can help. Shane Bowen wasn't going to be the saving grace of the Titans. He was there for part of the problem last year, so he's not going to be part of the solution this year. But, again, they did, kind of make him to be a scapegoat and kind of, let him know he's on his P's and Q's and he has somebody behind that's a legend waiting. But it also lets me connect the dots a little bit. I was reading something a little earlier from Jim Wyatt, who now works with the Titans, so he couldn't really, really have those hot takes like he usually does. But one thing he did say is the team is not done yet with edge rushers. And obviously they're not done with the secondary. And that led me to believe, are we going to target a veteran like James Houston, Marvin Ingram, something along those lines? And/or are we going to draft Jalen Phillips or look at Christian Barrymore in the first round? They're going to change our draft perspective. Are we going to go more defensive line and focus on that still? Double down because, like you said, the Nico Autry, Jeffrey Simmons. But if you have a Christian Barrymore that can grow up, that's scary. That's very scary. You feel me? And that'll take a lot of the pressure off the secondary with whoever we decide to fill in there, whether that's free agency or, we target that second round in the draft or early. You know what I'm saying? But we do have a glaring need a wide receiver, but I'm still just, just kind of putting that out there. But also this little thing that I just thought was he came from a typical 4-3 defense and we run a 3-4. So that's something that they were saying. But, this talks about his wealth of knowledge and experience will definitely be welcome because we need anything and, all hands on deck if we really want to make a Super Bowl run. And I think this really fortified Vrabel's positioning and allowed him to kind of, be this kind of saving, like not necessarily saving grace, but this mending force for the team that, as we started off with our very first podcast, Wesley Woodyard said was kind of lost his identity after that championship game. So I think this gives us back a little bit more of our identity. It shows us kind of our direction we're going to go. So I do think this could have implications on the draft. Maybe we might trade back up into the first round or trade up in the second, try and get our guy. But as far as a wide receiver or corner, but I did think this is definitely might be telling for that. But really, I like the move. If we got to give it a grade, I give it a A- because dude, our defense is terrible. Like, so like absolutely trash. So you feel me? Somebody who has experience of working with the D line and doing, coming in, whether he's calling plays or not, I think it's a good addition. So yeah, definitely is what I give it. So that's the kind of my thoughts. But I definitely do think Mike Vrabel was also being petty and seeing how Schwartz was coaching against that defense on the same Philly team. He knows Carson Wentz probably inside and out, who is the Colts' new starting quarterback, boo-boo quarterback, who will be grass all over his jersey. Number 2. Is it his number 2? Because he's boo-boo. He's that's why.
He wears 14 or 15, something like that.
But for real,
I thought it
he's
was
a
2.
double-digit quarterback.
No, it's 11 because
He
remember
switched his
Pittman.
number.
I knew it was something high. Yeah.
Yeah, Pittman wouldn't give it up, so now he's going to like 14 or something like that.
Uh,
But no,
wait, Carson's wearing 2, right?
I thought so.
Yeah, Carson's wearing 2.
Oh,
in
he is
Indy.
wearing 2.
In Indy, yeah, he's wearing 2. Yeah.
Indy. Yeah, he's wearing 2 because he's.
But what brings up a good point about the Schwartz always being a 4-3 like defensive coordinator. So with that, you can see why he wouldn't been hired as the decent. Now most defense are in like subsets anyway. They're normally in nickel throughout most of the games since the league has pretty much changed to that. So you're probably in nickel. Some teams maybe more than others than you are in your base 3-4 or 4-3s. But that is a good bring up because it just depends how much involvement he's going to have in that defense and how much of a say he'll have.
Yeah, and honestly, let's be real here too. The whole thing about how much say is he going to have, Mike Vrabel's not very good at letting people put their input in. So I feel like even as great of a defensive mind as Jim Schwartz is, he may not get much input, or whatever input he is given may not be implemented as much because Mike Vrabel just doesn't seem to do very well with that kind of thing.
And he may not. This could just be Schwartz getting a paycheck.
I mean, it could be. And you know what? Get your bag. I don't blame you. But, I agree with Welton. The 4-3 thing is big because that's a whole philosophical change that the team would potentially have to go through if Jim Schwartz is promoted to DC. So that is a good point. I forgot to mention that. But I don't know, man. I kind of just feel like it's got potential to work out, but I do agree with Chandler. A lot of it, I feel like is coaching more than talent. At this point, we know we've got talent. And even before this season, the defense, I feel like everyone just fell off a cliff at the same time. Kevin Byard and Harold Landry and Rayshawn Evans and all these guys. That doesn't happen just by coincidence most of the time. So to me, it sounds like the coaching, either they weren't getting prepared the way they should have, or the game plan wasn't set up the right way or something. Because when you got so many guys that are showing flashes of talent year after year, and then all of a sudden they all fall off a cliff, that's not normal. So I don't know, but I agree. It's going to be interesting to see what comes out of that. I'm going to go ahead and kick it into our next topic real quick, also Titans related. I haven't told the guys about this yet, so we're all going to get real natural reactions to this. So one thing that I think is hilarious every single year, whether it's football, whether it's baseball, basketball, whatever, is when fans of teams set unrealistically high expectations from their team. And this always happens on Twitter. I see it all the time on Twitter. And today what happened was I was scrolling through Titans Twitter like I normally do. And they posted the Titans posted a wallpaper Wednesday thing where it had the opponents of the season basically, and they had the home teams and the away teams. And I was reading the comments, and there were some people that said oh, I'm expecting 11 wins at worst, or 12 and 13 wins realistically, and stuff like that. So I just figured we could talk about this real quick. Obviously, there's only so much you can really infer or predict based on the defensive things that are happening. But let me just run you through our schedule real quick from the home. The home teams are the ones that I think are the way more difficult games. But at home, you've got the Chiefs, you got the Niners, you got the Bills, you got the Cardinals, you got the Dolphins, all of the divisional games, obviously, and then the Saints, okay? So y'all can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the Chiefs, Niners, Bills, Cardinals, Dolphins, Saints, all of those teams except the Dolphins made the playoffs, right? Or
The
maybe
Dolphins
not the
almost
Cardinals. Yeah, they were
Oh yeah,
one good.
Dolphins and
Cardinals
Cardinals.
Yeah.
Cardinals didn't make it.
Yeah. So, but the Dolphins were really like one game away from making it. Like they were close. They won 10 games. So when you think about that list and the away games, they're not as bad, but like the notable ones I'd say are the Rams, the Seahawks, and I guess you can throw the Patriots in there and the Steelers, but like the rest of them aren't that bad in my opinion. You got the Jets, but realistically speaking, isn't it kind of crazy to like sit back and say, all right, this team, they're going to realistically win 12 games. And at worst, they're going to win 11 games against, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, like against like 5 legit playoff teams. Like just in your home games, you're playing 5 legit playoff teams, and one of them has an alien at quarterback. Like this is ridiculous, bro. Like I can't stand when fans like overreact. Like Balls fans bad about it too. Like I'll be honest, real bad about it. But like, what do you guys think about this? Because I just can't see it. Like when you're talking about like, especially with how the question marks we've got a defense from a personnel standpoint and from a coaching standpoint, and then you talk about the depth problems we got at linebacker and corner and offensive line and wide receiver. What do y'all think about this? Because realistically, just off the top of your head, what do you think is going to happen this year based on wins and stuff like that? Welton, I'm going to let you kick this one off since you went last time. What do you think about this?
Man, so first off, you know, we had Super Bowl aspirations, and we were launched into that conversation once we were in the AFC Championship game. Once we got there, that Vrabel had really superseded our expectations. So that's now our expectation. AFC Championship game, Super Bowl contention. And so in order to do that, you typically need to have 12, 13 wins, being a 1 seed, 2 seed, more dominant team with experience, especially in this league. So I don't think it's completely unrealistic. I think it's crazy that, you know, we come from mediocrity from Jeff Fisher and King of 7 and 9, or this terrible time with Kent Wisenhunt and like Jake Locker in the dark days with Bishop Sankey, you know, like things like that, you know, it's like, so it's kind of different, I guess, coming out that valley and that terrible time. But, you know, we are in that Super Bowl, I feel like, conversation, and one of the teams to reckon with in the AFC, along with the Kansas City, along with who else?
Buffalo,
along with the Ravens. You know, I think is our closest rival. So I think we're the 4 top teams in the AFC, and I think that, you know, we all could have a shot based on our style of play and how we can get there. But I do agree we do have some holes, and that's some things we need to see shored up in wave 2 or 3 of free agency and in this draft. So we'll definitely see what comes about all of this, and I'm excited to see, you know, how we can get there. But looking at their, like you reading off and looking at their entire roster right here, I can see 12 wins. I can definitely see 12. It's going to be hard because we're playing some really, really good teams. Some really teams that have improved, specifically the Rams. Like that's
a tough game.
That's going to be a tough game with that offense and that defense very sound with that play calling. So we're going to have to get it together early. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, a 17-game season is going to be a really interesting ride. If we get hot towards the end, that Kansas City game will really be able to gauge us and where, you know, how we can test ourselves. So that might be, you know, two powerhouses meeting in the AFC this year. You know, you never know what could happen after this draft. But I think we're in a pretty okay place with our kind of foundational pieces, but this defense has to get right. Maybe Schwartz is a good piece to add on that, but we'll see how it happens. But I don't think it's unrealistic for 12, 13 wins at all. I think it's expectations.
Demo, what do you think? Like, based on what Welton said, like the 12, 13 wins, like, do you think that's realistic with this team? Taylor, I'm going to get you next.
Okay. Yeah, for me, you know, I'm kind of like, I don't want to like ride the fence, but it's like, I don't want to make a cop-out answer. But for me, I have to wait to see what they do in the draft and what they do like with the rest of free agency. So I can't gauge But I mean, I guess for the sake of the conversation, I will base this off of, I guess, the roster we have now, as incomplete as it is. Chandler's okay. Well, I ain't gonna spoil his answer. But for me, I think, let's see, like I'm just gonna like run through the games. I think I'm not gonna say the opponents we can beat because I guess we'll do that for a later show when the schedule comes out. So I know I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Some of these games are toss-ups, so like I see 9 for sure, 10. I see like around between 11-ish, so kind of like 11 to it's just those toss-up games. Those are the only games for me that kind of are iffy. You know, those toss-up games. Like the toss-up games, I would consider like going against the Rams. I think the Rams is a toss-up game. I think the Seahawks, even though yes, the Seahawks have a bad defense, they have Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf. Like I think that's a toss-up game, and we're playing at the 12th man too. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of, you know, something that we'd have to think of. And then we don't know what the Steelers are. Like I don't know what to expect from the Steelers. Like I don't think they'll be as good as they were last year. Mm-hmm. And then like I think another toss-up game would be probably the Buffalo or Miami. I feel like Miami is like the 2019 Titans. A team that people are just sleeping on them. They missed the playoffs by 1 game, similar to the Titans when Mariota didn't play. No, not when Mariota didn't play, but whenever they started out like 4-5, and then you know, they had
fought their way back in.
You know, so you know, I feel like the Dolphins could be the 2019 Titans. You know what I mean? So I see, you know, before the draft is done, I see this team winning around 11 games.
I got you. All right, so I'm gonna let Chandler go in real quick and let him give his thoughts, and then I'm gonna give mine because I didn't really go in depth on mine. So I'm gonna have a little fun with this one. Chandler, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so basically just kind of ran through the schedule real quick. A lot of it actually is going to depend how it falls, because say you get hit with that crap Houston got hit with last year, where they had to play the Chiefs right off the bat, and then they had to play they had to play like 4 playoff teams in a row. So say they start – let's just say, for example, they started the season with San Francisco and they're 100% healthy with that defense. Then it's like, okay, well, we might have a tough game right off the rip. I mean, they went out to the West Coast last year with Denver, so it's possible they could start out there again. But I feel like a lot of this kind of ends up in that where these games scheduled. But I'm right there with Demo. It depends on the draft. And, you know, like I honestly, I really do hate this crap when people do, but let's go through the schedule. I'm fine with it if you want to do it in August, because you kind of already seen training camp. You know who's likely going to be healthy, and you know who's likely, you know, probably going to either be making the team. I mean, heck, say, you know, just using this example last year, you know, you're looking at like Vic Beasley. Oh, we done signed Vic Beasley. And then you get no production out of your pass rushers, or say somebody gets hurt, you know, and whatnot. So it's kind of, for me, it's going to, until that, because that schedule will come out pretty soon. It comes out normally like in May, like the order of it. So I'm sure them guys are working on it right now. But, hey, we know one thing. There's going to be a lot of primetime games this year. They got a lot of games where they should be, if not 325, 315, 305, whatever CBS likes to roll with, then they're going to have a lot of, you know, either Sunday or Monday, or at least have one. I think everybody gets one Monday night game. But my big thing, you know, until we figure out what needs are addressed in the draft, because, I mean, imagine Tannehill going out there with just this receiving core without any addition. So, for me, I just looked at it real quick, just kind of, you know, did a glance. I see about 10 wins. The ceiling, maybe. The ceiling is probably 12, just because, you know, it's just one of those things. Now, the floor is probably like, you know, that 8 and 9. Somebody maybe got hurt, you know, you done, for whatever reason, you know, Jacksonville maybe took a step up with Trevor Lawrence. Who knows? I'm not likely, but, you know, it's possible. QBs have changed different things around from teams before, but they do got a lot of toss-up games. They can compete with the Chiefs. They can compete with the Bills. They can compete with literally every team on their schedule, but we know it's the NFL. It's any given Sunday. You know they're going to lose some game. It's going to be like, how the heck are we losing out? Who up 21-0? Hey, 3 turnovers, and then they let a punt get taken all the way back for a win. You know, some crap like that.
I'm glad you said 10 wins, Chandler, because I'm going to keep it 100% real with y'all. Y'all know I love being honest. I love being genuine. All right, I know fans love saying, oh, we're going to be so good. We're going to be fine. I don't have to worry about these problems, whatever, right? I'm looking at this schedule, and obviously this is all hypothetical because we don't know how the season's going to play out. We don't know the order of the games, all that, which is very – I'm glad you said that too because that's a really good point. But, like, realistically speaking, like, if you're saying 10 wins, right, especially with 17 games this year, and we just mentioned Miami didn't make the playoffs with 10 wins last year in the AFC. The AFC is going to get better. If the Titans don't win 12 games or 11 games, especially with the Colts being in their division, if their season goes the way we think it will realistically, I don't know if the Titans make the playoffs with 10 wins. Like, they pretty much have to win 11 or 12 games at that point.
You make
Like,
the playoffs
honestly.
if the Colts or whoever else in the division didn't take a step up, and you win the division with 10.
Yeah, but that's something. But if the Colts do play like they did last year or a little bit better with wins, the Titans are in a bad spot right there. And you already know, like you just said, they're going to lose a game they shouldn't lose, and maybe they win a game or two that they shouldn't win. But
Yeah.
let's be honest here. Home games in Nissan Stadium aren't really home games, and especially when you're playing fan bases. I mean, I'm just being – and especially when you're playing fan bases like the Chiefs and the Bills and let's see who else, the Saints, like teams that travel well.
San Fran
Those games
travels.
that you
Yeah,
think
Yeah, San Fran.
that's what I'm saying. The games you think are advantages having home games really aren't most of the time going to be advantageous for you because the Titans just don't have that kind of push.
they got okay. I say maybe 2, but they definitely got 1 game, and that's Jacksonville. That's literally like maybe the only guarantee. Because Houston, I don't know.
Well,
Man,
I was sitting here trying to break
In
it down a
Arizona,
little bit.
Arizona.
I'm looking like, okay, I think we can definitely beat Jacksonville twice this year. I'm just saying. I understand that I'm confident that we'll make additions in the draft, of course, add talent in free agency. So I definitely understand what y'all saying. But you got to understand, we're going to fill the holes at some point. We're not just going to go out with this roster right now. And so,
Right.
So I definitely think, Jacksonville and Houston just off rip. I mean, yeah, Houston has some guys, but man, Houston's in a disarray, bro. I don't see us losing to Houston or Jacksonville. I think those are 4 wins, and I think we're going to split the series with Indy. So like we all,
Yeah.
So that's about 5 wins. So if we can contend that, I think the Jets regress. Even with the rookie quarterback, I think the Steelers, Saints regress, and 49ers are going to be iffy with that quarterback situation as well. So in those 3, I think that's at least 9 where I'm pretty confident where we can get those wins. But I understand what y'all were saying about the rest of those. We lose teams. We lose teams we're not supposed to. But also with this 17 games, though, I think that's also we have to take into account that we can't just get by on those 10 wins. So I definitely agree with that, Jason, when you were like, we might not get it, but it is 17 games. So 10 wins might not cut it. We do have to shoot for 12 to 13. I think that's the expectation for a team of this caliber. So that's what we have to expect. So
The Colts thing is kind of interesting as well, just because if Wentz doesn't take that step, then they can sweep the Colts. If Wentz does take that step, I honestly think they're going to get swept by the Colts. I know how it goes with the Colts, though, man. It's just one of those – they just can't get through them. Like, honestly, to me, I see it as basically like the NFC North when it comes to Green Bay. Like, most teams just can't get past the Packers. Most teams in the the AFC East, they couldn't get past New England outside of Buffalo. No, not Buffalo. Miami was the one that was always splitting. So, I don't know, man. It's that Colts team, man, it's a lot's going to be based off if Wentz and Wright can get that connection they had back in Philly. If not, that one really can go either way. But I know, but yeah, to me, like I said earlier, a lot of it kind of depends on how this schedule ends up falling out. For all we know, they get a favorable schedule off the rip, and then all the hard teams are at the end of the season, which could benefit good or bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's my thing is it's like, obviously, I think a big part of how your season plays out is where your tough games are. So, I mean, if they got the Chiefs week 1, like, obviously, that's probably not going to go well. But I just think, hypothetically speaking, because you can only do so much with this kind of topic this far out, but I just think it's crazy, like, the amount of games that they've got, like, on paper that are tough games. Like, you got 5 or 6 games where you're legitimately playing, like, tough teams. And that's not even counting your divisional games, which always can go one way or the other. Like, realistically, we should sweep Jacksonville and we should sweep Houston, but you already know how those games go. Like, they are toss-up games sometimes where things just go crazy because it's a divisional game. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. And like you guys said, like, the Rams, that's a tough game. Like, straight up, that's a real tough game. And the Seahawks, like, I don't care if Russell Wilson is thrown to the third-string popcorn guy from the stands. I'm not betting against Russell Wilson. Like, I'm just not. Like, he's that good. So, I mean, they've got some games that I'm real nervous about just on paper. And I think it's kind of – with 17 games, you've got a little bit more room for, like, error or whatnot. But – it's definitely going to be interesting to see how these kind of things work out. So I just wanted to talk about that for a little bit. I guess we'll see how that goes, and we'll readdress like our expectations for the season after the draft, because that's really where you're going to see the holes being filled, like Welton mentioned. So, but yeah, so that, that was just something.
Go ahead. I'm so sorry. So, I just wanted to like make it like a quick point. So, excuse me. So let me look at it. I'm sorry about that. So I was looking at the opponents. I think kind of like what Jason said, I feel like the 17-game season is either going to be like a real like detriment, or it's like going to be real good or real bad, because it does give you a little bit more room for error. But anyway, so, and I also had like a funny, like real quick funny thought in the back of my head. Could y'all imagine the Titans versus Rams game and they're promoting Super Bowl 34 all over again? I can see it already.
Oh,
it's
man.
a primetime game. Oh, you best believe they are. You best believe they're doing
that.
They're
I was thinking that they're going to promo Super Bowl 34 the whole time, and I'm just going to be sick.
Man, that's one of those things, like, it doesn't matter, like, what day it is. It doesn't matter if it's during the season, like, outside of the season. Like, I always scroll through Twitter, and every so often I just see that 1-yard play where Kevin Dyson's stretching out for the goal line. And like, I don't know why, but it always gets posted on Twitter. I don't understand it. Like, honestly, like the most random.
Honestly, I think that's just something like every fan base has, like one of those plays that just keeps popping up on Twitter. For the Bears, it's always Chris Conley not covering Randall Cobb on a deep pass that if you win the game, you go to the playoffs. If you let Randall Cobb catch it, the Packers go to the playoffs. So it's always, I guess that's just one of them plays that just ends up popping up for like everybody's fan base. I'm sure, every other team has something that's just like, really? Like, why is this popping up? It's the anniversary. What do you mean it's a 3-month anniversary? Don't nobody care. We didn't need to see that.
The Bills got like PTSD. 4 straight losses. They got hella plays.
They got Music City Miracle.
I was gonna say that because there's also the highlights of your team. So our highlight is their low lights. So it's definitely hilarious. Yeah.
One thing, and I think Welton's going to mention this later on in our Good, Bad, Ugly, but there's also one other thing that always gets brought up for the Titans on Twitter. As much as I hate it, it always gets brought up. And me and the rest of the guys don't agree on this, which is fine, but whatever. But we'll touch on that later. I know Welton wants to talk about it, so I'm going to leave that up for mystery for a minute.
So, I promise
you're good.
Hey, so I want to ask y'all a question. So if y'all had to guess the first game of the season, if you had to choose between two opponents, like if y'all just had a gut feeling, who do y'all think the Titans play the first game of the season? I'll give you two guesses, and I guess who's right. I don't know. We'll talk about some prize or something. Everybody has to cash up somebody $5. You get two guesses. My two guesses, I'm going Rams, Chiefs. My two picks for the first game of the season.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna write them down so we don't forget. Hold on. All right, so
this is also kind of new, the 17 games. I don't know how, if anything is going to kind of change. So,
right.
Dang, that is kind of tough. Oh, dang, shoot. I said it wrong earlier. The 49ers are coming to Nashville, so at least they got to go back to the West Coast.
But still, the Niners travel too.
No, we're going to the West Coast for the Rams game.
Yeah. And also, too, I also forgot too that since the Titans were first in the AFC South, they by default have to get the hardest schedule because they play the division leaders of the NFC South. And what's the other division? I know
whatever AFC team. So they got Pittsburgh. They got the AFC North team, and they get who else did they get?
AFC
The Saints.
East.
East. No, they're playing the
AFC
whole
East,
East.
NFC West. Yeah, AFC East,
the
NFC
AFC West. In the AFC West, they draw Kansas City.
Kansas City. So yeah, they by default have to play the toughest team. So, but yeah, I say Rams, Chiefs. So those are my two predictions out of the 17 teams.
All right, Chandler, you can go ahead and make yours, I guess.
Yeah. Shoot, it's kind of he threw it for a loop because I'm not. The Chiefs, I definitely see. I feel like they're gonna save that Rams for a little bit later, just because it seems like for the most part they like to stay inside the same conference to start off. But I think I'm piggyback with the. Well, I don't know, man. Shoot, because that Chiefs is kind of you can easily see it. I feel like if the Titans would have played like Baltimore on the schedule this year, I feel like they would have threw Baltimore somehow up in here. But I'm gonna say Miami's gonna be game one. I think it's that.
Remind you that 2018 season where that game was 10 hours.
Rain was all freaking, but then it's the Tannehill versus Miami, revenge game type going on. I don't know, that might be a primetime game. And then I don't know, throw Jacksonville on there just because they always seem to end up playing Jacksonville week 1 or 2, so might as well throw them on there.
Man, that was a pretty good too. You took one of mine, definitely Miami. It was one of my picks, but the other one I'm looking at is Pittsburgh. And during the time that we were just sitting here talking, I look back at the Titans 2018, 2019, 2020, past 3 seasons where they started off. Their first game was against the Browns in 2019. In 2020, it was against 2019 it was against the Raiders, and this past year was against I forgot who
Broncos.
it was against. Broncos. Oh, they start off with AFC teams. That's not in division that I've seen, so I'm just gonna pick an AFC team not in division. That'll be a pretty good comp, and I think it'll be they'll try to play out the rematch of the undefeated season. Maybe again, that's kind of good to start off with us against Pittsburgh, but that's what I kind of see starting off an AFC kind of out of division foe. So I'll go the Dolphins and Pittsburgh.
I'm kind of looking through it. Initially, I put down the Saints. But now that I think about it, because like y'all said, the conference games, like that makes more sense, just logically speaking. So I went with one of Demo's picks, the Chiefs, and then I also went with the Bills.
Yeah.
And the Bills just because that's a tough conference game, and they played each other 2 years in a row already, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I know they played last year because the Titans whooped up on them, and then I think they played at least one more year previously. But I think that's just going to be a tough game, and they're going to hype it up as a potential playoff game, basically for the guys. So I think that's an interesting matchup too. But I'm glad Demo brought that up because that is kind of interesting. And I feel like last season when they played the Bills, it was a primetime game. So if the Titans did get an opportunity to play a primetime game, it might be week 1. I don't know. But so that was one thing I was thinking of.
I don't know if that one was a scheduled primetime game because remember it got moved because of the COVID situation with the Titans.
Oh, that is
so
right.
I don't know if that one was, I don't remember if that was a regular noon game or if it was primetime and they just moved it to what was it, Tuesday night?
Maybe.
I was at football practice.
I mean, maybe now that you bring that up, maybe that's how they pitch it, the COVID rematch, I don't know. But I feel like that was, and then the Bills fans were mad on Twitter about that.
Bills
they were talking so much trash.
One of the tailgate tables.
Man, yeah, what's it called? Swanton bombing through the tables like Jeff Hardy. Man, that was crazy. Bills fans, I will say this. I respect them. They travel everywhere. They are some of the wildest group of people I have ever seen in my entire life. When it comes to NFL fan bases, bro, they are on a different level. Literally what's it called? Baptizing small babies through tables. Wild, bro. Wild. Anyways, the next topic we're going to talk about real quick, just to kind of touch on it, because I know everybody's basketball fans in here. I'm not really that big into basketball, but, I love my Vols, so I watch their games. March Madness was obviously one of the biggest things every single year. What did you guys think about Baylor? Because when I watched that game, I watched the second half, and I was like, you know what? Gonzaga is just one of those teams. It's hard to count them out. It's just hard to say, nah, this game's over. They're not going to get going. Timmy and I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Jalen Suggs.
Jalen Suggs. There you go. I'm not going to count them out. Jalen Suggs was hooping that game. He was killing it. And Baylor just did not let up. They had them clamps on them. They were hitting tough shots. They were getting to the rack. I mean, their point guard was going off. Like, it was crazy. What did y'all think of that game? I guess Welton can take over first real quick.
No, I don't. I mean, I go first just quick. I didn't watch it. Like, I'm gonna be real. Like, I tuned in. My sister, I kind of heard it playing. I was just, kind of peeking my head. And all of a sudden, it's like 8-0, 10-0, like 16-2 or whatever. I'm sitting here like, Jesus Christ. You boys getting me. And it reminded me of, like, I mean, y'all from the Nashville area. It looked like CPA had athletes, but it looked like a Lipscomb or a private school ran into, like, a East Lit or
Glencliff.
Huh?
Glencliff. That's what it looked like. It looked like CPA versus Glencliff. Glencliff is cool. And what? Are you talking about basketball? I thought you were talking about football.
Hell no.
Talking about basketball, bro.
What the hell you talking about? Ass. I'm talking about, like, they ran into, like, they ran into some hooping ass bro, and that's what it looked like. They was locking them up. They turned it over like five times. I'm like, bro, y'all turned it over like multiple times in a row. They did not want no smoke, bro. One sub was out. They had Timmy and ISO, and it was wrapped. So I watched about 5-6 minutes and cut it off. So next.
I got you, Demo. I know you were watching it. What'd you think about that, man?
Okay, first off, I have to explain myself. Okay, look, this is what I was saying. So what I was saying, it was just like, for me, like the level of like for me, it seemed like this is what should have been, a higher seed versus a lower seed. That's kind of like what I was getting at. Is like if CPA ran into Glencliff in whatever sport, CPA should win 10 out of 10. That's basically what I was getting at. But that's
Baylor only lost 2 games all year, bro. They some dogs. They was a 1 seed in themselves, bro.
Like,
they was
that game. Yeah, for sure.
You're saying the way it looked, though.
But the way it looked. That game in particular, bro, because they only had it under 10 like once, like that whole game. They had like 8 points.
They had the dogs out, bro. They was locking up, bro, and they had the dogs, and they was hitting shots, bro. Like they was just hooping. They wanted to be the villain to ruin a perfect season, and it fueled them. So,
yeah. No, go ahead.
My bad. I feel like the narrative around Baylor though this entire year has been they'll clamp up anybody. Like even before this game, like that was the whole thing about Baylor was you might have a good offense, but Baylor's gonna make you work for every bucket. And like when I was watching it, like that's exactly what happened. Like even Jalen Suggs, like he was hooping. Like he had a pretty good game overall, but he still was not enough. Like the only reason Gonzaga even like in any way, shape, or form was even kind of in that game was because of Jalen Suggs because he was playing out of his mind.
Well, yeah, they dug their hole early, and it was just too much to get out of. Like at the end, you know what I'm saying? Like it was just
right.
You got down like literally like 16-2. Like I'm talking about like early, like 35, just 40, 26, 35, like 14. Like it's too much to come back upon once the other team is just defending you and hitting shots. Like even if they stop hitting shots, like in that and you start scoring, it's like that hole is too much big enough when they're defending their asses off. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But for me, like the only word I can use to describe it is defense because Baylor was playing some of like the best switch defense I've seen in a while. Baylor was looking phenomenal on defense. And literally, like when people say like defense turns into offense, like yeah, that's true because what Baylor did was lock down. Like they was just like, okay, we're gonna let Jalen Suggs do Jalen Suggs things. Period. Jalen Suggs went off like per usual. But what they did is that they literally eliminated everybody around him. And, that's kind of like the thing that helped them win the championship. They played real great defense. It's some of like the best defense I've seen, like played in a college basketball game in a while, so, congrats to Baylor, kind of like Weldon said it was really lopsided for majority of the game. But, yeah, I was really just most impressed by the defense that they played on Gonzaga the whole time. And like Mark Few is a good coach and he has a great offensive mind, but I think he was just outperformed, against that Baylor defense.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to talk about too was like I like Jalen Suggs. Like I don't watch that much basketball, but what I have seen from him I really like. And you just gotta feel bad for him. Like hitting that buzzer beater, that 40-foot buzzer beater in the semis to get there, like to keep the undefeated season alive, hitting a buzzer beater like that, and then going in the next week and just getting stomped. Like you got to feel bad for him, man. Like it was crazy. But
That's college
Chandler's
basketball.
anything?
That's college
I
basketball.
mean, that's how it goes. That's why they call it March Madness. Chandler, was there anything you wanted to add in real quick?
Yeah, so basically for that game, like I watched mainly most of the first half. Like Baylor just literally came out and just flooded them boys. Like it was very impressive to see. I thought Gonzaga was going to win it all, but also in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's Gonzaga, so we know Gonzaga's always going to have some kind of meltdown at some point in the tournament. And for them, once again, they get all the way to the championship and can't finish the deal. But the biggest thing I noticed, man, when I was watching that first half, like Baylor hit their first I want to say 6 or 7 threes in a row. So when you get that going off the rip early and the other team is being locked up, it's not going to bode well for you. But the biggest thing, or two of the biggest things I mainly noticed, one, they were able to do what most teams weren't able to do this year, get Drew Timme in foul trouble. You take away him and get him off the court, he can get out of that paint. Now, for the most part, even when he was on the court, he really wasn't too effective. I think what he had, maybe like 12 points, 10, something like that. But the other biggest thing, Gonzaga could not grab a rebound to save their life. Baylor was crashing them offensive boards every single time. They ended up with 16 offensive rebounds. Gonzaga had 17 total defensive rebounds. They almost literally out-rebounded them on the offensive glass as they did the defensive glass. I mean, they were getting worked that entire time down there. The big dudes down there were just just grabbing everything. It was like, all right, Timmy, yeah, you might be 16, but we got the width on you. We're going to move you out the way. And, I mean, they executed the game plan to perfection. Now, maybe Gonzaga was a little high alpha. Jalen Suggs hitting the half-court shot game winner. A lot of people want to, say, maybe they were partying. How could they be partying? They were on lockdown. Gonzaga literally went out there and got smoked. Baylor did exactly what they were supposed to do. Everybody kept saying, well, it's Gonzaga here. Baylor, they're kind of there, but, we're going to hold them a little down here a little bit. Baylor like, man, we've been here this entire time, and y'all did not respect us at all, and they proved the point. And they went out there and they kicked their butt.
Yeah, that's that whole argument about like, oh, maybe they just got too high on themselves out of that game. That's like super corny to me. Like, yeah, I mean, Gonzaga, like they should go in there with confidence, knowing that they've been undefeated this entire year. But like, you can't tell me they go into that game thinking, oh, well, we're just gonna dog them like that. That's not gonna happen. Not in the final in the Natty game, and also not against the team that's known for their defense. Like I feel like Baylor, their game isn't necessarily predicated on their offense. Their game is predicated on we're gonna lock up and we're gonna do as much as we can to make you work for every bucket. So I don't think that
they were supposed to. Like,
yeah, and that's the thing. And Baylor and even on the opposite end, like Baylor, I was watching the second half and I was like, Baylor was hitting all of these contested shots. They were hitting from three. They were consistently like getting good looks. Like that's when I knew. I was like, man, this game is a wrap. Like there's no way Gonzaga is coming back from this. And then Timme got hurt towards the end of the game, and they were pretty much relying on ISO game with Jalen Suggs. And it's like, if all you're doing is ISO and it's not going to work, like you got to get other guys involved and get them open for better looks. So, but yeah, that was a rough game. And honestly, like 100%, I was on FanDuel before that game. I was looking at it like, man, I might take Baylor on this, honestly, because the odds were good. In Baylor, like as an underdog, like Baylor, I could have made some decent money on it, but I held off. I was like, nah, I think Gonzaga is gonna, it's kind of like destiny that they'll overcome it, but. Nah, Baylor came in there and punched him in the mouth. And honestly, and I looked that up too. I don't know what run Baylor went on at the beginning of the game, but I noticed Gonzaga didn't lead at any point in that game.
No, they didn't.
And
if anybody knows, or if anybody saw the Georgetown versus Creighton game where Creighton couldn't score for like 6.5 minutes, and Georgetown just literally walked up and down that court on them. It's kind of how it looked like to start the game. Creighton's happened like towards the end of the first half, but it was bad, man. It was embarrassing actually by Gonzaga because they couldn't score, and then they sat it with like 2 points for a good while too.
Yeah. What's Baylor's point guard's name? I know his last name is Mitchell. What's his first name?
Davion,
yeah.
Davion and Jared Butler, both of them.
It's Donovan Mitchell, man. People didn't realize that he went to Baylor to go suit up real quick. And he wore number 45.
Man, when I was watching that second half, I was like, Davion is just cutting these dudes up. Like, he was just slashing on them and, like, finishing through contact. And I was blown away, man. I was like, this dude is a dog. Like, he was killing them. So I'm happy for him. And then also I noticed after that game, or before that game, I'm sorry, Donovan had his jersey on heading into his game that day. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
I didn't pay attention to it.
Yeah, he had the 45 on and was rocking. I said, oh, that's funny. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So, but yeah, I'm happy for Baylor. I mean, I always like an underdog story. I'm always pulling for the team that's not supposed to win. So, I was happy about that. I wish I would have put money down because I would have made a nice little bonus check right there. But it's cool. It's cool. So I guess we're gonna kick it into good, bad, ugly real quick. Close out the show with our annual segment we do for my man Chandler.
Actually, before we get into this, because we're on college basketball right now, Darius has to finish up what he had to say about his Michigan rings. Darius, go ahead and take the floor, man. Go ahead and take that floor, big dog. I know you want to talk about it.
Chandler's right. I forgot about this. We need to give my man Demo.
I need to hear a little bit more off his chest, man, because we had to cut it short. We ran out of time last time, but yeah, we need to hear what he had to say about this one.
All right, Demo, go ahead. Let's hear these sad boy hours for the Michigan Wolverines.
What's that? It's Squidward. What's he doing here? Here lie Squidward's hopes and dreams. What a baby.
Send him to the Final Four. Wagner for three. It's on its way. It's an air ball, but Brooks has a rebound now. Oh, Smith's got it. Across the midcourt line. Smith's going to pull a three. This is for the lead. No. And there's the catch. Here's the shot. Wagner off the glass. No. Oh, it's over. And UCLA from the first four to the Final Four.
Okay, so look, I've been following this team, y'all, for years. Since 2013, the basketball side. I'll say that. Since 2013, I've been following this team. We went to the national championship against Louisville. And that's the year Kevin Ware had the incident. We lost. Okay. Went to 2018. We play Villanova, I believe. Yeah, Villanova. Dante DiVincenzo comes off the bench, drops 25. We lose by like 8 points. So to come here this year, and we've never been ranked a 1 seed, bro. We've never been ranked a 1 seed until this year. So, yes, I'm playing a violin too. So the year that we had, this is our best roster we've had since 2013, bro. This is probably one of the best rosters that Michigan has had since the Fab Five. I'm not even going to lie. You have Isaiah Livers, but he got injured, and I'm not making excuses saying if he played, we would have won. But we still should have won anyway. But that's besides the point. And then you had like Eli Brooks, who's like coming off the bench dropping points. And then you had Franz Wagner, all this. You had all these guys just to lose to UCLA. And, you know, I like UCLA's story. They're a really prestigious program as far as college basketball with like the 2018 that beat Gonzaga, which is crazy. They had Kevin Love and Russell Westbrook going back to the days of, you know, when they had Kyle Anderson and then recent guys like Lonzo, you know, who were just coming to league and having their best career. But when you miss within the last possession and you had the ball like 3 or 4 times and you still don't score, Juwan Howard, what are you doing not getting anybody down low to bang down low? Like, I just don't understand it. I don't understand how you set yourself up for high expectations just to blow it. And that's literally what happened, man. We blew it. I'm not gonna lie. Tournament MVP in my opinion is Johnny Swain. His name's Johnny. I think his name's Johnny, right? If I'm not. Yeah, the guy for UCLA. But yeah, in my opinion, he's tournament MVP. But I'm still more or so mad at the fact that we could not get a layup at the end of the game to at least send it overtime. Why would you take a three? Why would you take a three? Why would you take a three when you're down by 2? Come on, man.
Just hold on.
Why?
I had everybody out there that thought they was Steph and Dame.
Man, we look more like, Stephon and
Darius.
Right.
Davion.
It looked like,
Knock off,
I have no idea.
Knock off George.
I have no idea. It was
Man.
Oh, it was like Riley on the Boondocks chamber. Like that's what it was. It was Riley on the Boondocks, and he couldn't shoot. That's what it was. That's what I was thinking about. So, just that alone. Like, why did we take a three? I will pull my hair out until like I'm gray in the face.
I was actually for the three just because he was open, but the pull up three, not Wagner, whatever, however they pronounce their last name.
Wagner, yeah.
Yeah, his butt couldn't shoot the whole night. I mean,
he was bad. Dude, he was awful.
1 for 10. He was 1 for 10, and he took 2 game-winning shots.
It was bad. Like, I just don't understand. We usually shoot better. We only made 3 threes that game. Like, I would think, like, our best player, like, Hunter Dickinson, to have, like, 11 points. Like, I'm just like, okay. Like, is missing Isaiah Livers that bad where you can't make a three, where you can't make a layup? I don't understand, but apparently it is. So, I'm done ranting off my three-pointer soapbox, and I'm going to be on that that's going to haunt me for a while, y'all. I'm not going to lie. I've been dealing with Michigan for too long to deal with the heartbreak. The 2016 football team that had the phantom first down call missed. The 2013 basketball team that blew in the championship, and same with the 2018 team. So I'm very, very sick, just to let you guys know. Every single time we get close, and then we just dwindle it away.
It's something about our Midwest teams, man. We just don't know how to handle the bag properly, man. We just always fumbling it.
It's bad.
Man, I know my boy Chandler's gonna crush it, but I need like a whole bunch of sad memes and like sad piano music over Devo's tirade right there. Like I need the umbrella, the dude sitting on the bench. I'm sad, but I still care about my team. Like all that kind of stuff. I need it from my boy Demo right there. I'm glad we had that little moment right there. But real quick, I think we should do good, bad, ugly real quick. I'm just gonna run through mine. I guess we can run through them since we got like time limits and stuff.
Yeah. So
my good is April 7th. Some big sports movies have came out, and I didn't realize this, but over the years, in 1989, Major League came out, which is one of my favorite baseball movies because it's just funny. Charlie Sheen with his like jagged haircut that always kills me. And then also probably my favorite movie, probably honestly like one of my top 3 favorite movies, The Sandlot also came out on April 7th, 1993. So that was kind of cool. And I've seen a whole bunch of people talk about that. My bad. All right, so look, I know last week I mentioned how bad my sports betting has been. My last hit was Derrick Henry back in November. Well, I actually ended up hitting on Ely Tolvanen to score a goal last week. I made $38 on that bet. And then I bet on him to score yesterday against the Red Wings, and he didn't score, so I lost it. So immediately, like right after I get my dub, I lose it like 2 games later. So I was real salty about that. And then my ugly is my Braves. All right, so heading into today, they were winless, 0-4 on the year. And they actually played a doubleheader today, and they won both of those games. So now they're sitting at 2-4, but the expectation is they're probably going to be one of the best teams in the MLB. So they got a lot to work on. So I'm not very happy about that. They got to get it going. My boy Acuna, all these guys, they got to start mixing it up because something's not working for them. So I'm hoping they can pull it all together. But I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Chandler for his good, bad, ugly real quick too.
Yeah, so I actually got 2 goods, both Chicago related, so my bad, y'all. But first, I'm going to the Diamond. Yermin Mercedes, man. He's the White Sox DH this year. He's kind of he's actually a rookie. Surprisingly, he's a 28-year-old rookie. But he always, I guess, couldn't get called up or whatnot. But they always knew he could, like, hit well, so it was surprising that he wouldn't be called up. But he is the first player in White Sox history to have his first start and go 5 for 5.
Wow.
And then follows it up the very next game with his first at-bat with the home run. He is the first player in MLB history to start the season 8 for 8. The dude was raking this against the Angels. Now the Sox BS'd around and had like 7 errors and 7 earned runs versus the Angels, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, that boy Mercedes, man, he was raking. And last night, I'm gonna give him a good to Nikola Vucevic. Had 32 points, 17 rebounds, and 5 assists. The last time a Bulls player hit those stats in a single game, Michael Jordan, 1990. 69 points, 18 rebounds, 6 assists versus Cleveland. I mean, the points, yes, huge differential, we get that. But the fact that Vucevic has done something in like his 6th game with the Bulls since he's been traded from the Magic that only Michael has done, hey, that's impressive to me. So that is definitely my good for this one. I don't know if you want to pass it to Darius and them or what you want to.
I just figured since we were kind of short, we could just go through them real quick.
All right, so my bad. Nicholas Castellanos suspension. He plays for the Cincinnati Reds. He literally I think he got hit his at bat prior, and then he comes up and he makes a I don't know what he did. He did something happened.
I think it was the same play when he got hit and walked. I think he got they batted around bases where he got advanced to third and he came home on a wild pitch. So I think it was the same kind of inning or same at bat.
Yeah, and so then he slides in and then he gets up and yells, "Let's effing go!" And the MLB suspend him for something that players say literally in every other sport with no problem. You bang on somebody, you saying something, and he flexed. Like, baseball, man, y'all and y'all stupid rules. Like, he didn't even do anything. He literally didn't even start the brawl. He got up, flexed, yelled, and walked off. It was Yadier Molina that the one who started grabbing the back of his neck and started saying, "Oh, no," and then he the one who started the whole fight. So why Castellanos is the one getting suspended makes absolutely no sense. He is appealing the suspension, so he's still playing at the moment. But that was my bad. And honestly, it's really a bad for the Major League Baseball. That makes absolutely no sense. But ugly, I'm giving it to Welton's Warriors for getting absolutely demolished by the Toronto Raptors. They lost by 53 points, 130 to 77. That's ugly, bro.
It's rough out there for Dub Nation. It's rough out there.
Now they bounced back last night. Got a dub. Steph Curry dropped 41 points. Getting a win versus the Milwaukee Bucks, who were without Giannis.
All right, Demo, go ahead. What's your good, bad, ugly?
All right. So my good is that I want to say the last time the Grizzlies played, I was watching the game, and Ja Morant had went down with an ankle injury, and I was like, "Oh no, here we go again."
Oh shit, here we go again.
Grizzlies fans, as soon as they hear Ja Morant ankle, we're just like, "Oh, here comes an ankle sprain again." Start back with the high top Kobe's. So, yeah, I had looked at the tweet, and he was like, "Hey, don't worry about it. I'm good." I was like, "Okay, cool." So that's my good of the week, is that Ja Morant is actually doing good with his ankle, and that he's not injured for the long term, and he's going to be back. So that's good. And I think he's playing right now. But and also Dylan Brooks dropped 23 points in one quarter. Yo, I've never thought Dylan Brooks could do that, but he proved me wrong. He dropped 23 in a quarter, which is amazing. My bad. And I made this list before Jason, not before Jason, but before the Braves played today. But the Braves struggles were like my bad. Losing 3 games like in a row. Like, I know like the Braves are going to be good, but at least win 1 out of the 3. Come on, like we have high expectations for the Bravos this year. We need to get to that World Series. You were up 3-1 against the Dodgers. Don't scare me like that. But it is good that they won the doubleheader today. So shout out to the Braves. And my ugly, and we kind of talked about it earlier, but it was just the beat down that Baylor put on Gonzaga. Like that was it was an ugly game. Like, you know, that's my ugly, is that just the game was ugly, but it was beautiful defensively. But as far as just like an ugly offensive game, it was pretty ugly.
Well, my boy, on you.
All right, so my good was actually this weekend I was in Kansas City for my sister's volleyball tournament. You know, she signed actually to go to Tennessee State University, D1 athlete. But her team actually won the gold, so that was my good. I'm going to send Shannon a little video of me celebrating the game point on that championship match and my reaction that everybody got to see on video. So everybody was texting my sister like, LOL, that's your brother. So it was pretty funny. That's a great trip. And I actually got to visit the Negro Baseball League Museum out in Kansas City, which is also a really great museum, and really got to see some history, got a cool jersey. So it was a really, really tough experience. I got to spend with my dad. My bad is Arizona lost on a 3. They were down by 1 at Stanford in the College Women's World Basketball game. She was literally triple teamed. I can't. Her name is escaping me, but Chandler put it down right here. But she was literally triple teamed, threw up a turnaround 3. Her teammate was on the wing wide open, didn't cut. Really, just like you're down 1, you could have easily got that game-winning layup. But hey, it is what it is. And my ugly is Brandon Marshall yelling about NBA guaranteed contracts, veins popping out his neck, forehead, man, and completely wrong. Man, my boy was wilding out there, terrible take. Blue and like literally red in the face. It was crazy. You know what I'm saying? Man, forehead like a Snickers bar. Oh my God, it was ridiculous. But that was definitely, you know, my ugly, and he was yelling. And on that, it was really brought up the Cortland Finnegan fight that, you know, that Jason alluded to earlier with Andre Johnson. He explained why, you know what I'm saying, that he beat him, you know, and really put his hands on him like that. And Jason wants to defend him. I don't claim him after that, man. Disassociate. You just got your ass toe up. Nah, I can't do that, bro. So, but Chandler put the clip here to what he's talking about, but I thought that was pretty funny. But, man, Brandon Marshall was blue in the face. That was ugly, and that's what I got for this week, my guys.
First of all, I'm going to say this. I'm saying sorry, Dre. Sorry, Dre. Sorry, Dre. This is about to go real left. Sorry, Dre. First of all, y'all don't even know what the y'all talking about because y'all talking about the NBA. Everybody got guaranteed contracts, and it's false. They do. Searching this and I'm telling you it's the truth. No, they don't. Not everybody that's on the NBA roster have a guaranteed
There's two-way contracts. There's two-way contracts,
no, it's not.
and then there's the top dogs.
About.
There's the top dogs.
No, it's not. There's 4 guys on the NBA team that got guaranteed contracts, and everybody else can be cut today and don't got nothing.
And don't have nan dime.
Look it up. It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed.
So.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. So yeah, I mean, I feel like that was a good little segment because I agree with Welton on that, but you know, it's all right. It's all right.
I'm pretty sure. Was it on our home field? Did he get his ass beat on his home field?
Nah, they were in Houston.
Oh, at least it was on his home field. He slick might have got cut.
I'm glad Welton mentioned that because it's like I like Cortland Finnegan and I'm cool with him getting beat up on by Andre Johnson because it got Andre Johnson tossed out of the game, but nobody's on my side on that, so it's cool. It's whatever. I just think it's funny. Like as a cornerback, it's your job to throw that guy off his game, but it's cool. I mean, they lost that game, so it didn't really help, but whatever.
Yeah, that's the big thing. They lost the game.
Yeah, so I mean. I get why people don't like it, but I like it. Me being the trash talker that I am, I like it. Sometimes you just got to get them hands. It just happens. You get it? You get what I'm saying? So, but anyways, yeah, so that's the show for today. Appreciate you guys watching us and whatnot. Follow us all on Twitter. I know Chandler's going to put up our handles on there on the screen for you. And then we also have the YouTube page. So follow us on youtube.com/65 South Sports. Like, share, favorite, feedback, all that kind of stuff is greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys. Heading out.